right, welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Sylvester Inspires Belief Cast. Once again, I'm excited to have an amazing guest on, Henry Ammar. Thank you so much for being here, Henry.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've had him on before. This is his second time on, and I'll tell you guys, his first one blew up because people loved it, and you know, Henry is one of those guys that truly is out there making a difference.
Thanks.
We can talk about making a difference. We can quote it. We can do all this stuff, but Henry's out there doing the work, and you guys will be truly inspired by what he's doing. We're going to talk about the things he's been doing. He's been probably one of the busiest years he's had, at least from my perspective. He's just doing all amazing things. I do need to give a shout out to our sponsor, Veracity Networks. Thank you so much for believing in me and this platform that we have to share amazing stories of overcoming and principles that are life-changing. And I'm just grateful for Veracity Networks for allowing that to grow and reach more ears. So, and then also, Henry, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. You're a busy man, so thank you for carving this out for us.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me. No.
You bet. So, Henry, a little background on you. I mean, from what I've seen this last 6 months, I mean, you've done a TED Talk, you have come out with a single,
Mm-hmm.
You're speaking to large crowds. You are touching lives in ways that just are really inspiring to me. And I want to talk a little bit about just this busy year you've had so far and just kind of recap it for all of us, what you've been doing and how that's been going for you.
Oh, man. Well, thanks for having me on, first
Sure.
of all. And I know if you listen to Todd, you know he's the real deal. So genuine. And I'm so happy to be here. So thank you. This year has been crazy. Really. It's funny because, if you don't know my story, I quit my job 3 years ago thinking, oh, I got this. It's going to be great. And then, 6 months later, you're like, wait, what is going on? And I remember even on social media, I was like, I'm going to put out this content. It's going to go big. And 6 months later, I'm at 300 followers. And I'm like, it's not moving, 395 followers. And I'm like, and I so you revamp and you revamp. But, and finally this year, it kind of, things feel like they're moving slow in life sometimes, but you don't know that you're planting seeds and that you're actually, to me, life was training me to prepare me to do what I'm doing now. I look back at everything and I'm like, wow, everything I did was preparing me. Even the slow moments was teaching me how to be present in situations, how to be confident without the externalities, how to, and that's the question I always ask is, what can I learn from this, right? Because I always believe we have empowering beliefs and disempowering beliefs, not to get into teaching, but
no, please. I
think the past 3 years have been a boot camp for me. And until the past year, and especially the past 6 months, it's been a whirlwind, for me. Last year, I remember sitting down, writing down all the TED Talks that were available. Okay, let me submit myself to all these TED Talks. And then, I really want to do this, and I really want to release music, and I really want to, and it was all this vision that I'd been doing for years, working on my music. And it's funny, when I got approached by TEDx actually to do the talk, to do a different city. And then, and then I ended up doing Riverton. And all of a sudden my buddy looks at me and goes, Henry, aren't you glad you didn't do it last year? And I was like, actually, I really am. But you would have asked me the year before. I was like, oh, I'm so ready. Oh, I'm so good. And so everything has happened, I believe, in its timing. And it's been the past 2 months has been a journey for me. I had to take this last weekend for some self-care because I've been in 5 countries in 5 states in less than 2 months.
Jeez.
And it's been really good, from performing my music to speaking at music festivals and to the TED Talk to workshops to working on my book. It's just been a full month, but I'm so grateful to do it. And I'm kind of being vague, but if there's something, there's been so many experiences that I could dive into. I don't know if there's something you want.
Well, I guess the reason why I asked this question is because, I've had you on before and I've followed you since then, and I'm a huge fan.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I'm impressed because you're not one that just talks about it. I want to do, I have this, I wrote this goal down and then you actually put effort towards it. And I think that's what I'm asking is, where did that, maybe come from?
I'm so glad you asked that.
Yes.
Thank you for asking that, because, I look at you and I know this audience, right? And we talk about, who's listening. And I truly believe, they say, as some people say, your message, right? Your journey, your hero's journey is what you do. For me personally, like, I grew up extremely insecure, extremely passive. My nickname was Passive. My friends would call me Passive. Like, Henry, hey, Passive, what do you think? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you think? Right?
Wow.
Like, and I was so caged, and I felt controlled by life, and I felt like I was a puppet, and I felt like I was a robot. And finally, one day I said, enough is enough. I need to learn everything I can to be liberated from this jail cell, this self-imposed cage, And I got obsessed, man. Someone put a book in front of me. I started realizing, wait, if my brain is able to change, then I want to learn the mechanics of it. I want to learn how to evolve. And so I became obsessed with growth. I became obsessed with the liberation. And I think once you go through certain things, and I figured I'm going to go through this stuff anyway. I'm going to grow through it as well.
Right.
I'm not going to just sit here and just let life choose for me. I'm going to choose life and shoot, man, I have to. What's my option?
Right.
And I think at the time back in the day, my grandmother had passed away, and she was extremely close to me, and I was extremely close to her. And she's the one I looked like in my family, and just kind of stayed close to. And when she died, I was like, shoot, like, life is going to come and life is going to go. And what do I want to say at the end of my life?
Wow. Yeah.
What do I really want to say? Like, what do you want to say? And so I was like, I definitely don't want to say I lived in a box. I definitely don't want to say I didn't make a difference.
Yeah. And
so the past 20 years have been just me obsessively learning everything I can. And then once you learn it, I can't help but want to teach it, because I know how it feels to be there. I know how it feels to be caged. I know that's what you do. You're like, man, you have this book coming out, which is awesome. Yeah. So he's describing his book to me, which is going to be awesome. So we're excited to support you in that.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah, I got you. No, but it's true. Like, it's your story, and there's nothing more powerful than a story. And I truly believe this, and anybody listening, I truly, sincerely believe this, and I hope you feel it from my heart, is I don't think life could put something in front of you that you're not prepared to not only face, but conquer. And so if it's big, take it as a compliment. And I always say, however big the dragon is in front of you that you're fighting, when you slay it, your strength will become equivalent to the strength of that dragon, and so will your wisdom. Right? Wow. So I believe that everybody here has been entrusted with a trial of some sort, and it's your hero's journey. And until we believe that we can conquer this hero's journey, I don't think you'd be listening to this if you didn't have any hope whatsoever, because in order to listen to a podcast, you have to believe, okay, I'm going to get something from this. So hopefully you do. There is something inside of you that you have to give the world, because you have a unique experience and talent and gift and strength. And I believe I truly believe a lot of times our weaknesses actually are our strengths, but unbridled.
Ooh, I like
Meaning,
that.
like, if I walk in this room and have a fire hose and it goes uncontrolled, it's going to feel like it ruins everything.
Yeah. But
when I learn how to control this beautiful gift that I have, I'm going to put out fires. I'm going to save people's lives.
Wow.
And I think a lot of people, some people that are deep feelers, they'll feel a lot of anxiety or feel a lot of depression or feel really deeply. You think about, if you could, feel that deeply this way, means you're probably empathetic. You're probably really sensitive to life.
Right.
You're probably a very creative person or an artist in some way, shape, or form. And especially, and I always say, our fear is an imagined future, and so is faith.
Yeah.
Right. So if you could imagine yourself into an emotional state that deep, can you use the same powers and learn how to use them to get the opposite and teach people how to do the same?
Right.
Yeah. So I just believe that, or I'm a very passionate person, if you can't tell by this point in the podcast.
Yes.
But when I didn't, and luckily I didn't grow up very angry, but dude, imagine if I was angry, it would be my biggest downfall.
Yeah.
But it's my biggest strength. I mean, for me to stand 3 weeks ago in front of 40 plus thousand people and just get on stage and give them this energy, like, that's my strength. But if I didn't control my strength, it would ruin me and my relationships.
Right.
So everybody listening, whatever your struggle is, whatever thing you've overcome, whatever it is that you have, there's a gift you have for the world. And that's just a fact.
Right.
I truly believe that. So for me, it's, why do I do what I do? Why am I so fired up? Why am I just going like a million miles an hour? It's because I know how it feels, and I want to share it with the world, because if I could help one person even a little bit, then I am so grateful to do it.
Wow, that's so beautifully said. I couldn't agree more. I'll tell my clients, your addiction is your wake-up call to your greatness.
Yeah, I love that.
And I love what you said is, if we can learn to control the gift that we have, that passion, that empathy, that sympathy, that, that drive and that confidence, and get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Now we can use all that energy and passion for good.
Yes.
So I love how you said that. That was beautifully
thank you so
said.
much. Thank you. Thank you.
I love the passion. I love that. So you mentioned, and I think, I'm kind of jumping around just a little bit, but you mentioned you've been so busy, but you said, hey, I had to do a little bit of self-care.
Yeah.
Will you describe that for us and kind of give us some ideas of what you do and why?
I will. Thank you. You know, they say that if you don't take care of yourself, you're giving people the rest of you, not the best of you.
Ooh.
And for me, a lot of people, and it's funny, I was speaking at church, and I think a lot of people miss the mark of self-love and self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we're such givers, or we self-sacrifice so much, or we're so caught up in life or what's going on in our life, the struggles, that we forget to truly give ourselves what we really need, not what we think we need.
Okay.
And in order to know what I really needed, and I think, to me, emotions are indicators, and to me, if I feel something, even if it's a negative thing, I don't resist it, because what I resist will persist, because it's trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
It's calling to me saying, Henry, something is up with your thought process, your imagination, your focus, your physiology, whatever. Something is up. So this is your wake-up call to pause for a second and ask yourself what's going on.
What's going on, yeah.
And so for me, having been gone for 2 months, and a travel day of 26 hours and nonstop and this and that. Yeah. And, sometimes it's funny, guilt or fear or whatever will kick in and say, no, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. You're not going to be successful. But for me, it's like the mind doesn't control me. I am not my mind.
Right.
I am a chooser that can listen to that. And granted, I still feel the emotion of, oh my gosh, I got to keep going. Got to go.
Yeah, right.
But I was like, no, I'm going to schedule this as if it's a doctor's appointment, or as if I'm helping somebody else out. So I had to do it, and I promised myself I would. And I knew that what drives me is the impact I could make. And it's growth and contribution, really, right? I want to grow, I want to be better, and I want to contribute. And I know that if I'm not aligned and connected, then I can do that a lot less. And I didn't want to run around in circles. So I decided on Friday, Saturday, Sunday to step back and ask myself, am I keeping important things important?
Great question, yeah.
And what do I really need for me? What do I really need to give the world? Am I missing something? And what am I doing right?
Yeah.
And just being grateful and just connecting. To me, it's to God, and just saying, hey, thank you for these past 2 months. Thank you for trusting me with my trials, and thank you for trusting me with this opportunity to serve in partnership. And so for me, it was Friday night, I knew there were certain things, it's funny, that I just had to get out of the way. So I blocked those things off, all those things we keep putting off, those things you're probably thinking about right now. I was like, I'm getting those things done. And the next morning I literally got up, I moved my body, and then I went to, actually Friday night, I have these sacred spaces, I call them, I think it's important to know where you can go separate yourself and feel connection.
Right.
Some people it's nature, some people it's church, some people it's temple, some people it's, wherever that is for you, or if you find one. But yeah, so Saturday I went with my notebook and I looked at my life and I said, what do I need to keep in my life? What do I need to enhance in my life? What needs to be let go of? And what do I need to put off for a later time? What do I need to delegate? Just saying, because I'm pretty ambitious and I have a long list of things I want to do.
You do, yeah.
And so it was really good for me, man. I gave myself till Saturday, but realized I needed till Sunday. So I went to church Sunday and then stopped on Sunday. And this week has been more productive than ever.
Right.
You know, because I paused. Some people are like, oh, well, you can't pause. You're going to miss out. I've done more this week than I did before that, you know?
Yeah.
So taking self-care is so big, and self-love is so big, man. And the reason I brought, it's interesting. Sometimes when I do speak at church, I'm like, okay, when they ask Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? You know, a lot of people say, well, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love others. Like, you missed the last part too.
Yeah.
Love others as yourself.
As yourself.
You know, because love is truly what heals. Love is empowering. You know, when we look at ourselves, if everybody listening, like, you could pick yourself apart all day, but if you're beating yourself up, you're not helping yourself, right? It's okay to look at things realistically, but truth, when they say the truth will set you free, the truth with love will set you free. Because the truth by itself, sometimes we beat ourselves up. And, you know, that phrase, where focus goes, energy flows. If you're focused on the negative thing, what's going to grow?
Yeah.
I look at the negative. Don't get me wrong. I do not shy away from where I fall short.
Sure.
But I don't look at it to stay there. I look at it to evolve. And I guess my point is love. Like, I need to be filling myself with love, because love is ultimately the empowering healer.
Right.
You know?
So you meet people all over the world.
Yeah.
And I think people who actually get to know you are like, they would describe you, man, he's love.
Thank you so much.
So talk about that importance. You know, the self-care is, I totally understand. I think that's important for all of us. And you've had a very productive week. But let's also talk about how, when you do go share a message with all these people around the world, you know, is love a big part of that?
It's everything, man.
Okay.
It really is everything for me. I'm so glad I've grown from where I was to where I am. You know, when I was early 20s, like late teens, early 20s, I was in the music industry. And in the beginning, it was about me. You know, oh, cool, I just performed on stage for 21,000 people. Look at me. And I am so grateful that I got rid of that, you know, and the glory isn't for me. I promise. Like, I don't care. Like, when I got off stage 2-3 weeks ago, I didn't even say my name. I forgot to give them my name and my Instagram handle. I was like, that's 40,000 people. I could have had more followers, right? I could have doubled or tripled, you know, my numbers. And so, but I didn't even think of it. Like, I don't care, because it's, there was a moment, this is really interesting, at the music festival. And I remember it so clearly. Saturday morning, the festival runs from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And there was someone that had taken drugs outside of the festival, but had come to the hotel and had OD'd. And the staff really cares about their audience. Like, there's 200,000 people that come through this festival. Jeez. And some of the staff, they were in tears, and they were just like, and there was one moment where we're sitting down, and the founder's like, what are we going to do? How do we help? We have an audience. How do we help them?
Right.
You know, and I love that about them. They're so elevating, even though they have like the pop culture icons. Yeah. The Cure was on stage. Yeah. You know, Chainsmokers, and
it's not about just the entertainment.
Right. Absolutely.
What can we do to make a difference?
Exactly.
Okay, I love that.
And there was one moment for me, and I found out I was speaking again on Sunday night, and to address this issue. You know, you're talking about this to people at a music festival, right? Like, which is a pretty hefty task. But we're sitting there, and I'll tell you, the reason I brought that up is because that Saturday morning, we're all sitting for breakfast. This is after the festival was done that night. And I just started receiving, you know, eyesight revelation or insights or whatever, download. And I started feeling the people in the audience. This person was struggling with this. This person was that. And I start sobbing. Wow. And I'm turning away from everybody because they're having a meeting. And finally, I go to my hotel room, and I'm sobbing for 30 minutes, like, to where I can barely, I'm like, you know, and I genuinely want to help. And for me, that's what drives me. Like, it's about love, and love is the ultimate thing that helps anyways. If I went with anything outside of it, I wouldn't have the impact I have. Yeah. And I am grateful for it. I'm grateful that people have loved me enough to help me when I was down and when I am down, right? And because I go up and down. And so love is the key, man.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think, you know, one, self-love, and one of the things that I do with my clients, and I want to get your take on this, is a lot of times when I'm meeting with someone who's struggling, you know, especially with drug addiction or whatever, because that's the bulk of my clients, is that the first thing out of their mouth is, I just want to be happy. Right. And I'll say, okay, well, where's that going to come from then?
Yeah.
You've just declared to God and the universe that you're not happy. Where's it going to come from?
Right.
And they don't know how to answer that. They're like, well, that's why I'm here, Todd.
Yeah.
But I'll say, and it's a powerful principle that I've learned over the years, is if you want to be, give it away. If you want to be anything, give it away. So if you want to be happy, go make someone happy. Well, I'll get from my clients, well, I'm miserable. It's the last thing I want to do is try to go make someone happy. And I'll say, go do it.
Right.
And when they do that, when they give away that love and that happiness to someone, they realize they've always had it.
Yeah.
Because you can't give away what you don't possess.
Have. Yeah, that's
so
cool.
I like your take on that, because I just want to hear what you think
of
that.
I mean, honestly, I love that. I think it's so spot on in so many ways. I think for me, I think my heart grows the more I serve. And I think I just have to ask, look, you have to start wherever you are, right? Like wherever you are, you start. So,
right.
in a sense, if you can go and make someone happy and just make someone smile, like you're giving off this higher, if you want to call it a frequency, energy of love, right?
Right.
So in a sense, now you've created that within you to give that somewhere else. And I agree so much, is how can you go out and serve? And also raising your hand when you need it, which is great because they're coming to you,
right?
And being able to say, hey, like, I'm struggling and I need it, but also knowing that sometimes fear and all the hopelessness makes you look inward.
Right.
When I think if we step out and help other people, it also helps us notice that that you can initiate change, that person can change, and it does something to release, because emotions are chemicals.
Right.
Right. And so, like right now, if everybody listening, if I asked you to take a deep breath first and think of a moment in your life, and allow yourself to be imaginative. Think of a moment in your life where you could be completely grateful for. Like, see it, feel it, allow yourself to experience it. Just think of a moment you could be very, very, very grateful for at this moment. It could be a person, it could be a thing. And allow yourself to experience it again as if you were there. And then let's add a second moment or experience you've had, or a person. It could be small, could be big. Just allow yourself to go in on this. It's really simple, but feel it, see it. What is being said? What do you see? What image do you see in your mind? Bring it close to you and experience that gratitude now. Just allow yourself to feel it. And lastly, just do one more thing. Just stack gratitude on there. Mm-hmm. Just think of something you could be grateful for, an experience, a moment. Go back to a moment maybe that you had. And what was there? Look around. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? And if, even with me just describing that, I think the majority of the people probably felt some sort of gratitude, some sort of information.
Yeah.
The thing with our minds is that whatever we emotionally visualize, it believes is real.
Right.
So a lot of times it's like, has anybody ever been really, really upset with somebody and angry, and your body's going, your mind is racing, your thoughts are racing, you're getting tense, your breathing gets shallow, and your just focus is all over the place, and then you find out they didn't do it.
Right.
But everything reacted as if it was real. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what's real.
Yeah.
And my point is, sometimes when you step out of yourself and go help somebody, you break the pattern that's being run in your mind over and over and over again. You're breaking the cycle of what's happening and doing something different. Right. And your mind is like, wait, what is this? Right. And then you open up this little portal, and while that's open, going to someone like Todd or even just yourself, just saying, okay, it's open, and now let me look at the reality. And when that pattern's broken, when I'm not triggered or I'm not in this certain cycle. So I went off on a tangent.
No, you're good.
But I guess I just truly believe there's power in service, but there's also power in when we actually go out and serve. The more we do it with intention, the more we do it with, how do I serve using the little things that I know that work, all of a sudden now what you're doing is you're rewiring your mind as you're helping other people because you're seeing what works and you're receiving a reward from them. Now your mind is saying, hey, look, when you help other people be happy, because they say out of the 6 human needs, growth and contribution are the ones that bring you the most happiness.
Right.
So now when you're out there contributing to somebody else and then you're expanding yourself, you're growing and you're contributing. And now guess what? This happiness cycle begins and you start a new pattern in your mind.
Wow.
You know, anyways, I went off on a tangent, but you're right about the helping other people.
No, you answered that beautifully. And I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. And man, I just love, I can't get enough of when you're talking.
Oh, thanks.
Just keep
man.
going, man. This is amazing. You know, I know you're involved in a lot of different things. What's the one thing that you look back on, you know, maybe over the last 6 months, because I know you've had a really busy 6 months, that maybe has impacted you the most?
You know,
I know that's a big question because there's a lot going on in your life, but
yeah, you know, what's impacted me the most is, it's a really interesting story. You know, during one of the festivals that I was at, I believe in opposition. I believe that whenever you're about to do something good, there'll be a little bit of pushback, and you got to expect resistance, right?
Yeah.
For you know, whether it's changing your life, you know, to get from where you are to where you want to go, there's going to be a gap,
right?
And in that gap is discomfort, you know, quote unquote failures, fears, insecurities, all this stuff comes up, and if you can look at that and anticipate and say, okay, well, when I step out, if I have quote unquote failures, you know, how do I define myself in the failures? Do I find myself a failure? Or do I find myself as a doer?
Right.
You know, because I could frame it either way. Do I find myself as someone had courage to go after it, or someone that failed and, you know, and just going to be stuck? Or by definition, I need to expect that I'm going to be uncomfortable because I'm stepping out of my comfort zone.
Right.
And no magic happens in your comfort zone, right? So,
right.
And so in a sense, I knew I was stepping into new territory and things like that. But I went to, you know, when I went, there was a huge storm that happened, and it's an outdoor festival. And all week, I mean, I can't even tell you, like, this is the 3rd time I've been on stage with that big of a crowd.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was something, but it wasn't as like my first time.
Right.
But I had, all the stuff was coming up. And so I think my main point is there was this huge storm that raged, and they almost canceled that night. And I remember looking at the girl that was singing with me, and I said, hey, do you pray? And she said, yes, I do. And I said, well, do you mind if we just say a quick prayer? So we said a prayer, and so by the way, the storm was raging, and Apple Weather said it was supposed to rain all night.
Right.
And right when we said the prayer, basically, we look up and the sun had broken through.
Wow.
And, you know, if you believe in prayer, if you believe in intention, whatever you believe, like, this is just my experience. And I'll show you this. The weather completely stopped it didn't rain a drop the whole night. They ended up opening it up, and this was the weather the whole night.
Oh, wow.
Like, I'm showing Todd this picture where the storm was literally just blocked, and then there was a huge rainbow around the festival that looked.
That's amazing.
And so, long story short, going in, having that experience, having a lot of inner conflict, having all the crazy doubts that I had, and I knew it was going to be important because of the pushback.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there was a lot of, like, and I'm going to just get to the point. There were a lot of internal conflicts, external conflicts for me from where I was to get on that stage.
Right.
But the second I got on the stage, something came through me that I'd never felt before in my life. And I felt connected to 40,000+, however many people were there. And I walked off the stage and I looked back and I said, you know what? A lot of times my former self or other people, when there's a little pushback, a little resistance, a little doubt,
right,
we retreat.
Yeah.
Yet if we stick with it, if we keep our eyes on why we're doing what we're doing, on the prize, on knowing what we're supposed to do, you know, I stood up on that stage and I knew this was my gift to give the world. And I looked back and I walked off a different person.
Wow.
Because I dealt with so much adversity. And then I walked off stage and I knew the impact was made. And I looked back and I was like, everything in my life had prepared me for that moment. Even the things that I thought were terrible, even the struggles, even something as simple as learning to have peace in difficult times, with my mother having cancer, with all this stuff, and just not just going through those moments, but deciding, how do I evolve in this moment? How do I find peace in this moment? How do I find strength and presence and love in this moment? And I looked back and I saw for a moment how each trial, each thing prepared me. And the lesson for me was, and the biggest impact was, it doesn't matter what's pushing back at you.
Right.
Because I had something I knew I was supposed to share, and I wasn't going to let anything stop me if that's what I was supposed to do. And despite all the odds, it was one of the most powerful experiences of my life. I can't even explain the surge of spirit that I felt coming through me when I connected with those people. And I got on stage to talk to people at a festival about bondage, right? And drugs and things like that. So it's like, it's not the easiest place to talk to people.
For sure.
About that, because not everybody's going to hear about that.
Right.
Actually, nobody's going to hear about that, you know?
Here we are.
And so the biggest thing for me was, I think sometimes you go into battle, and when you come out, you realize how strong you actually are.
Right.
If you don't retreat.
Yeah. Very well said again. You know, it reminds me of the saying, the greater the darkness, the greater the light.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that's a very powerful message you're sharing right now to all of us, is that, and I agree, it seems like when I'm trying to do something really good and I've been planning this great thing, there's all that opposition. Things seem like they're not going to work out. It seems impossible, but if I don't retreat, it usually ends up being the greatest thing ever.
Absolutely.
You just look back and go, I'm so glad I didn't give up. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
What do they call it? You know, stopping 3 feet short of gold.
Right.
It's like we retreat. Like, dude, you were this close.
You're so close, man. Totally. And you know, it's also this perspective I have. I'm like, when something pushes at me and I know I'm supposed to do it, I'm like, oh, it's going to be that good.
Yeah.
It lights me up. It's like, oh, okay, we can do this.
Here we go, yeah.
Here we go. I'm going to roll my sleeves out. I'm going to do this. Like, I've learned to make it trigger me forward versus backwards.
Right.
When it's like, it's an indicator that it's going to be that good.
Great, yeah. Instead of going, oh, this is going to blow up, it's going to suck, you look at it as, you've changed your belief system around it. No, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, the greater the doubts, when you face those things and you show your mind, hey, I am the chooser, and we're gonna choose the higher realm. Like, I'm not gonna live on autopilot. I'm not gonna be reactive, because look at the word react. It's reacting out everything that happened in the past.
Wow, love it.
Right. So I'm not gonna stay in a circle pattern. Like, I'm here to grow. I'm here to choose my life, and I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how many times I have to get up. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When I decide something, the Latin root of the word decide means to cut off. I've cut off every other possibility. Unless I feel like there's something truly better, it's done.
Yeah.
You know, and push back at me. So every time I walk against the wind, I'm getting stronger.
Yeah. Dude, I want to do like a cartwheel right now.
Let's do it.
I'm serious. Like, I love it. The energy, dude. I'm serious. This is so freaking
You're so
cool.
awesome, dude.
Let's go do a cartwheel.
You guys, just freaking love Todd, man. I'm serious. Such a pure, loving, honest light. Thank you, man.
No, thanks for saying that.
So
man.
sincere.
It's right back at you. I want to talk about, you mentioned this, you felt connected to 40,000 people.
Yeah.
One thing you're really, really good at is connecting. Talk about why that's so important, the connection piece. Why do so many people connect with you? Like, why do they talk about that? That's a gift.
Thank you. You have. Thank you. You know what's interesting is, my obsession is fear, right? Fear and how it shows up. And I've learned in my life, whenever I was afraid of something, there's many faces of fear.
Right.
Anger, insecurity, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. I mean, we can go
Anxiety,
on. Everything.
Just goes,
right?
Yeah.
Anxiety is fear of the future, everything, right? Like fear I'm stuck in my past, whatever.
Yeah.
And I've realized in my life, I think having done a lot of the work to step out of fear into love, out of fear into freedom, I think everybody's looking for love.
Right.
And so am I. And I don't mean love, cheesy love, like,
Right.
yeah, that's great. But I mean like real deal, sincere care. Like, man, like compassion. Everybody you meet is struggling with something.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody you meet is doing the best they can with the knowledge they have, with the patterns they're running. And if I can understand that, and I could love people enough to love them where they're at, but not love them to keep them where they're at, just to elevate them. It might not be my job to even say anything to them. It might just be a smile.
Right.
But for me, like, what am I here for?
Right.
Like, what am I here for? And that's just my personal belief. It's like, what is my legacy? My legacy is that. And connection is, if you just look around, how many people are just disconnected, walking around, looking down? It's so fun. Try this. Go to a cashier and ask them how they're doing genuinely. And how many people just robotically treat them as a robot?
Yeah.
Like they're just this thing. We're all people with feelings and emotion. Yeah. Everybody's been through something. Everybody's cried. Everybody's sobbed. Everybody's been depressed. Everybody's been hurt. Everybody's wanted love. Everybody's felt love. Everybody's laughed. Yeah. Like in some way, shape, or form, everybody you meet has that. And for me, it's like, I think having done a lot of the work myself and knowing the struggling little kid, the struggling teenager, the struggling young adult that was like there, it's like, how do I not? What am I? There's nothing greater than that. Like, what's my legacy? Yeah. And that's why I quit my real estate job. Like I was doing fairly well, man, and like, but so what? I bought a $200 million building for the company. Right? Like, cool. It sounds sexy. I had an ocean view office. Great. But I quit my job, gave up millions of dollars, literally to do what I do. But I'm so fulfilled. Yeah. And I guess to answer your question more simply, how do I connect, or why do I connect? Why? Because I think that's what we want. Yeah. And how I don't objectify people. Right. I realize we all have crap in our diapers, right. And we all just want to feel love. And it's so fun to throw love at people and to see, because love is the empowering factor. It's not Henry. Right. Right. It's the energy of love. If you want to talk about it from a energetic standpoint, I mean, we could talk about it from every standpoint. Energetic standpoint, they say love and gratitude are the highest frequency. HeartMath does a study where they say they measure people's energy. They have these things. It's really crazy. And they say when you're living in gratitude or love, your EEG and your EKG are completely connected, and you're in the highest frequency you could be, and you're in a state where you could receive intuitive hits. And your body is in the most healthy state because you're not in stress. Your blood isn't rushing to fight or flight mode. Or if you want to look at it from a God perspective, right? If anybody listening here is into God or anything, if they say God is love, then love is God. So I'm going to put love in the room. Yeah. And when I put love in the room, I'm putting empowerment and joy and peace and strength. Yeah. That's the God I believe in, is love and joy, not guilt and not wrath. Shame and that stuff, like
an umpire counting you out. Strike one.
Exactly.
Strike two.
Yeah, it's love, embrace, mercy, grace. Yeah. And so for me, it's how do I leave people with this ball of light? Yeah. And everybody we meet, we have this opportunity to give them this gift. Yeah. To make them seen, to make them feel like they're, hey, I acknowledge your being on this planet. Right. And try it with a cashier, man. It's fun. And sometimes people look at me like I'm this weird blonde guy. Like, what are you saying hi to me for? Yeah, but it's fun. And even those people, I have a really good time, like finding a way to just touch them, because we're all seeking it, and just sending them a good day and move on. But there's something so beautiful about connecting, man.
Yeah. No, again, very well said. And I couldn't agree more. And I love that, a lot of people I work with struggle with connecting with God or a higher power. Yeah. And, I read one of my favorite books is The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. Yeah. And in that book, he says, God doesn't have love. God is love. Mm-hmm. And then I always tell my clients, when you were this tall, and for you listeners, it's like, when you're 1 year old, right? Who are you? At that age, who were you? And they usually go, I was love. And then I'll say, how do you connect with love? you give it away.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how you connect with God, your
Yeah.
higher power. And that's really what you're doing when you do these festivals and your podcasts and your TED Talks and your song, which I want to talk about next, is you are, again, you're connecting not only with your higher power, God, you are connecting with everyone in that room, helping them feel the same thing.
Absolutely. And one thing I think I would love to share, because I think a lot of people listening are more feelers than we think. Sometimes we put up walls because we're so sensitive and feeling, right? Please don't be so hard on yourself, right? In a negative way. Like, yes, be realistic. Yes, acknowledge what's not working.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're judging yourself in a really harsh way, you're probably judging other people in a harsh way, and you probably believe you're being judged in a harsh way.
Yeah.
Right? And so you could heal your relationship with yourself by healing your relationship with other people, or vice versa. I had a retreat in Bali, and this girl came up to me and she said, "Henry, I'm really struggling with my roommate." I said, "Well, let's explore this."
Yeah.
And, she described what was going on, and I said, "Okay, well, what do you think you struggle with?" And I was like, "The same thing. You're hard on her about it because you're hard on yourself about it."
Right.
I said, "I bet you anything, if you went and you healed that with her, you'll heal it with yourself."
Wow.
If you go give her love, you can give yourself more love.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And if you give yourself more love, you can give her more love. It's like this beautiful cycle. And it was the coolest thing, man. It was a much longer conversation, but the next morning, the roommate had no idea.
Right.
She came back. She's like, "Oh my gosh, we had the best night." And both of them were just glowing. And I was like, man, it's true. Like, we can heal ourselves by healing what we feel about other people. So when I learn to love other people, I learn to love myself.
Right.
When I love myself, I love other people, because ultimately, and then when I understand that hurt people hurt other people and love people love other people, then I want to feel loved myself, and I want to help them feel loved so they can go love other people. It's a ripple effect.
Wow. That's awesome, man. I think I've said wow 1,000 times. I apologize, but
You're awesome, man.
I love what you're saying, man. I'm just
Thank you.
This is amazing stuff. Let's talk about, you just came out with a single.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's called
Tomorrow.
Yeah. So first of all, tell us how you came up with the name.
Yeah.
And give us a little background on it.
So the song Tomorrow that I wrote, I co-wrote with my buddy. I wrote because my sister was working this job that would drain her.
Right.
And they weren't necessarily treating her well. And so I said, let's come up with a plan. It doesn't have to be today, but let's come up with a plan. So we'd come up with these plans because I care about my sister, and she kept saying, yeah, tomorrow and next time and later. And man, I'm like, tomorrow becomes tomorrow, becomes tomorrow, becomes next month, becomes next year, becomes the end of our life.
Yeah.
Like, when am I going to start choosing love? When am I going to start choosing to own my life? When am I going to start choosing to do those things I'm supposed to give the world? I keep saying tomorrow, then when?
Yeah.
Tomorrow doesn't even exist.
Exactly.
And so I sat down with this concept of tomorrow, and it's interesting. The first verse, and I'll just kind of run through the lyrics. It says,
Sure.
all around me, so many voices. And it's the voices around me. It's caring what other people think. It's the voices in my head that people have said. It's my own negative voices. And, you feeling like a puppet, like everyone has a string to me, controlling me.
Mm.
And it says freedom time, taking back my choices. Because the greatest power we have, to me, is choice. The deciding to decide is one of the greatest decisions we'll make, choosing to choose my life.
Love that.
And I said, losing hope in these distractions, and I don't recognize my reflection.
Wow.
And I remember looking in the mirror, and this had to do with me. It's like I got so caught up in life and in my mind and in these things that I wasn't being authentic to who I really was and the gifts that I had to give the world. And I kept putting things off and saying I was too busy, when the truth is, busy is a matter of priorities.
Right.
I wasn't prioritizing my spiritual growth, my mental growth, my emotional growth to give the world something better, or even prioritizing love or relationships. Or why do I keep saying tomorrow to go work on my relationship or whatever that is? And then it said, wake up from the stream. You'll never know it was over. And it says, this is an interesting course. It says, don't wait until tomorrow, until the sun goes up. I want to feel alive. And people could look at that. It's a dancey song. So people could be like, yeah, you're dancing all night and I want to feel alive.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's the analogy that the sun will always come up in your life. And everything's always going to pass. Right. But who you become is what's going to stay.
Very
and until that sun comes up, I want to learn to be alive and not just exist.
Right.
I want to live. I want to choose. And even if I choose and I fall, at least I chose and wasn't a robot to life. I wasn't a puppet.
Yeah.
And it says, watch it all erupt. We'll light up the night. And that whole thing of, the stars come out when it's darkest.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are in our dark stages. A lot of us are pushing through. And you watch it all erupt. The fireworks aren't as cool during the daytime.
Right.
So how do we light ourselves up in that space? Because mostly everybody we listen to and admire and read books on has been somebody that has shined in their darkness, overcame it, and stepped out and gave their gift to the world, which goes back to the hero's journey. So for me, it was my proclamation to myself. And then the post-it says, tell me what you're waiting for. This is me talking to myself in the speaker. I'm ready to let it go. Can you hear me on your stereo? Don't wait until tomorrow. And so it was like this.
Chills, man.
Thanks, man. And then the last two lines of the first line, second verse, and that's the rest of it repeats is, in my heart, I'm starting to feel it. Call me crazy, but I can hear it. And I think all of us have that inner GPS, that inner voice. When you let go of the mind, when you let go of that thing that says, hey, you got a light. Hey, do this. Hey,
right.
Go love this person, or hey, whatever that is. And I just started answering that call. And in my life, leaving that job, the security I left, I prepared for it. It's a different story. My sister now left her job, and she's a sound bath healer, and they're doing a ton of cool healing and coaching people and stuff. And so the song came from really a proclamation to my sister, then ultimately to myself, realizing that I was doing it. Because the reality is, when my mother was dying of cancer, I sat in the hospital and I would watch her. And I said, what do I want to say when it's my turn?
Mm-hmm.
What do I really want to say when I'm on my rocking chair, I'm on my deathbed? Like, it's coming.
Right.
And it's not morbid. It's the truth. And it's fine. And sometimes like, oh, shoot. But it woke me up to say, if I keep saying tomorrow, I'm going to look back and have a bunch of empty yesterdays. Okay. And I don't want to live in regret. I want to say, at least I went for it.
Yeah. Let's live,
so that's tomorrow, man. I'm excited. It's on all the platforms. So if you want to listen to it.
Yeah. So we'll get to that in just a second, because I want people to be able to find you, find the stuff that you're doing. I could talk to you all day, Henry, honestly, seriously. I could just sit here. Let's keep going, man.
I kind of want you to talk, man. I feel like I'm talking too much, man.
No, you're doing
Todd
great.
was on my podcast, and I was like, literally, it's one of the only times where I just stopped and I just listened for like 20 minutes, and Todd's telling a story, and I was like, man, you could have just taken the whole thing away. I think I might have asked like a few questions, and Todd just crushed it, man.
Oh, thank you, man. It was an honor to be on your amazing podcast. And so thanks for that. If there's someone right now listening to this and they're kind of in that space of they don't feel love, they're maybe not connecting, they feel maybe trapped in their own little self-made prison.
Yeah.
What advice could you give them right now that could help them? I mean, you've said plenty on this, but what if you could direct it right to them?
First and foremost, I'll say a few things that just come to my heart. One is, I promise you it's there. I used to never know it was there, and I'm getting like really emotional thinking about it, because I remember a moment feeling like, am I ever going to break free from this? Feeling caged. And in order to go after a treasure, you need to believe it's there.
Right.
And sometimes we lose hope. And I just want to give you that hope. And if you can't take your word on it, take ours.
Right.
For now. Keep going. The light does come back. The sun does come back up. And I know some of you have tried over and over and over again, but you don't fail until you give up.
Yeah.
And it's worth it.
Yeah.
And so first and foremost, I just want you to know there's hope, and that the prize is out there, and that you can recondition your mind. You can recondition it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't feel love because of our early trauma in our childhood.
Yeah.
Where we experience something. And there are ways to heal that. So find ways to heal that. Find professionals that can help you heal that. And third, you're lovable, man. Like,
yeah,
you really are. Like, I don't care what you've done. I've done some stupid things in my life. There have been a lot of people who've done some stupid things. Now is a new moment.
Yeah.
Today is a new day. And sometimes I just feel like I'm way too far to go back.
Yeah.
But I promise you're not, man. I promise you that. And here's the other thing. You know, if what you're looking for is love, if what you're looking for is relationships, if what you're looking for is connection, your inner world will create your outer world. So the fact that you're listening to this point, you already know in your heart.
Yeah.
You already know in your heart that there's some sort of hope, or else you wouldn't have listened this far. There is a part of you that knows the truth. And the truth is that you are a powerful being. You are a chooser. And you have an ability to overcome the bondages or the lies that are stuck in your mind that are not true. Because the fact that you will never feel love is a complete lie.
Right.
And the truth and love will set you free. And I'm here to tell you, you know, I really wish people see me and they're like, man, Henry, you just have confidence and you've had it. And I was like, if I could plug you into my brain, you would think anything is possible.
Right.
Because I cannot explain to you the bondage I felt. I cannot explain to you the stuff I resorted to experience any sort of aliveness outside of me.
Yeah.
When I truly believe, you know, for me, part of that was a God walk. Part of that was a reading books and saying, I will get obsessed about this and I will learn everything it takes. And I'm fully committed. And this is the last thing I'll say is decide. Make a real commitment to step into the most powerful version of yourself. And let everything that comes your way be an opportunity to strengthen you, to make you that version. Everything will prepare you to be who you want to be and to be where you want to be. If you can look at it from that perspective, because guess what? You have two choices. You could have a disempowering perspective, or you could have an empowering one.
Right.
I'm sorry, man. I don't want to live my life disempowered. And the natural thought pattern is going to go to survival. It's going to look for the problem. It's going to look for the quote unquote security. But just because you have a thought doesn't mean it's true.
Right.
Just because you believe something doesn't even mean it's true.
Right.
So if the bird is flying over your head with this thought, do not let it build a nest. Be deliberate about your self-talk. Be deliberate every day of how you're going to show up. When you wake up and look at your day, say, today I'm going to show up in love. I'm going to show up in presence. I'm going to show up in whatever it is that is. Look at your day and say, this is what I have going for me. I'm going to show up like this and do the best you can. And at night say, cool, I did this much and I learned. I remember there's one time, and I'll tell you this quick story because this will help illustrate it. One of my former bosses had the strongest personality, and everybody was scared to talk to him, you know, and I would literally see people walking in his office and walking away, not even going in.
Right.
And to me, I look at that as opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I get to grow my presence in the middle of being nervous. So I would find excuses to go into the office every day. And at first I would get caught up and have slot machine mind and, you know, and at night I'd be like, okay, what can I do tomorrow to be more present? And I'd go to the bathroom, I'd talk to myself and I'd go back in and I'd go back in and I'd go back in. And finally I conditioned my brain and my mind, because your mind can be rewired.
Yeah. It's like software, man.
Yeah. To not be triggered that way. So my whole point is I made a decision to be free. I made a decision to decide. And to me, take back your life. It's your choice. And I don't care if you get it right or wrong, as long as you're moving forward by choosing every day. And it will come in its time. And it's probably there more than you even understand it.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's just the thoughts that came out of my mind.
No, thank you. No, thank you so much. I got goosebumps, man. Because I'm a huge believer on that power of choice. I think it's the greatest gift we have. I think we take it for granted. I really do. I think we're like, oh, I can choose. I can actually choose to be happy. It doesn't mean it's easy, and it doesn't mean it always works out exactly how we think. But like you said, I love what you said. Choose anyways.
Right.
Go down that road. You might fall on your face a few times, but at least you're going in a different direction.
And the coolest thing is science shows, this is actually really good information. If you do fall and you catch yourself falling and you bring yourself back, your brain actually rewires at a higher rate. So I don't beat myself up when I fall. I don't have time for it.
Right.
I'm like, ooh, opportunity to wire my brain even more, because guess what? Every single day you're becoming somebody. And if I can have an opportunity to catch myself caught up in my mind or caught up in this thing. When you catch yourself and bring yourself back, guess what you're doing? You're curling that heavy thing, and eventually you can curl it easily.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, again, man, this is amazing stuff. Talk about, if people want to get to know you better, how would they reach out to you? How would they find your song? How would they find your TED Talk? Let's talk.
Yeah, thank you. My song is on any Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, anything that has music on it. It's under Henry Ammar, Henry Ammar. And I have 2 songs out. One's Live It Up, one's Tomorrow. Nice. And I have 2 concerts coming up in LA. One for sure on the 31st. And then, and then my TED Talk on YouTube. It's called Freedom from Fear. And nice. And yeah, just social media. Instagram is probably where I'm most active. I'm going to start getting active more on Facebook and Twitter, but mostly Facebook and Instagram. Right. It's Henry Ammar, Henry Ammar. And yeah, man, I am just grateful. And if you want to follow me in anything I do, would love to have you join the community and and let's just rise together, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. And I'm telling you, and listeners, for you hearing this, I mean, connect with Henry, you know,
thank you so much.
Follow him. You'll be inspired by just listening to what he's saying and what he does. And the beautiful thing, like I said at the beginning of this, that you're one that actually does the work.
Oh man, thank you.
You know, those that do are those that get, and you are a doer, man.
Thanks.
And a chooser and a doer, and you put in that effort. So thank you so much for taking the time,
for having
man.
me. Thanks for, it's always good to be around you.
Oh, it's so good to be around you. It's been a minute since we've seen each other, but I followed you. I'll continue to follow you. And I'm so impressed. I'm so happy for your success. And I'm grateful for the love that you even show to me. And I feel connected. So and it really helps me want to be a better father, a better husband, a better worker, a better friend.
You might get translated if you do, man. You might disappear into the heavens or something.
I got a long way to go, man. I'm still working. I'm still learning, man.
No, I appreciate you, man. That's the cool thing with Todd. Everybody listening, I know you're listening to this podcast because you probably feel the same thing. But like, you're the real deal, man. Like, you're heart centered, you're heart driven, man. And look, I meet a lot of people in this self-help stuff, and I just love it when I meet somebody that's all in from their heart, you know, and you just know that he is, and he eats, lives, and sleeps it. And I am so grateful for that. And his book is coming out.
Yep.
I'm going to plug it for you, Todd. It's good.
Yes, thank you. I paid him to say that. No, I'm kidding. But it is coming out soon, probably within weeks, and I'm excited for that. And, you know, it sounds like you're doing a book as well.
Yeah, I'm excited.
When's that? Is that just
I don't know. Hopefully I'll be done writing it in October, and we'll see what happens.
See where it goes from
there. In the process. You know how it is.
Well, I'm looking forward to that as well. We'll have you back on again when that comes out.
Thank you.
But thank you, and here's to more success, more connecting, spreading that love. So
yeah, and thanks everybody for listening, and just I appreciate your time.
You bet. Thank you. There you go, listeners. I want you to do something for me. I've been doing this with my guests lately.
Yeah,
is to read that quote off the wall up there.
Up there. Yep. The most delightful surprise in life is to suddenly recognize there is nothing wrong with you.
And if there's someone that believes that more than I do, it's Henry.
It's true, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's, man. I was telling somebody today. Sorry, I'm going to say one more thing.
Oh, it's okay.
I
You're good.
literally was telling somebody today, and I got so passionate I had to apologize. Because this guy sitting in front of me, I'm like, man, if people knew their power and knew how amazing they were, do you know if everybody rose to their light and their strength, what would happen in this world? And I got so passionate. Because it's true, man. Like, when you look in the mirror today, don't see just a normal being. There is a powerful soul in you.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, I can go. That's a whole different thing. You guys are awesome. Thanks for listening.
Well, there you go. Thanks so much for your support, everybody. I love you. I love Henry. I love being alive. I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful to be recovered from an addiction. I'm grateful for my wife and my children. Today's a great day. Thank you for uplifting my day, my friend.
Oh, man, same. Thank you so much, man.